Have you ever felt fear not, the run from danger kind, but the stay and face yourself kind? Søren Kierkegaard once said, "To dare is to lose one's footing momentarily. Not to dare is to lose oneself." What if courage isn't about winning? What if it's about becoming who you really are? Let me tell you about the weirdest conversation I had with a friend last year. She had a high-paying job, a decent apartment, a partner who was nice on paper, but she looked me dead in the eye and said, "I feel like I'm disappearing." Not because anything was going wrong, but because nothing was ever really true. Every choice she made was the safest one, the approved one, the polite one. And now, she didn't know who she was anymore. Here's the thing. Most of us think of courage as something loud, big, flashy, main character energy, like standing up to a bully or quitting your job in a blaze of glory. And sure, that's one kind of courage. But that's not the kind most of us need. Most of us need the quieter kind. The kind that says, "I'm terrified of this, but I'll do it anyway." Kierkegaard calls this the leap of faith. And he doesn't mean religion. He means that moment when you stop looking for guarantees and step into the unknown anyway. He wrote, "Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom." That moment when you have real choices, real risk, real life. And yeah, it makes you dizzy. But that's where courage actually begins. Not in knowing it'll work out, but in choosing anyway. So what actually happens when you have courage? Let's go back to Kierkegaard. He said, "The greatest hazard of all, losing oneself, can occur very quietly in the world, as if it were nothing at all." That line hit me like a punch, because that's the risk no one talks about. We're all so afraid of failure, of embarrassment, of not being good enough. But the real danger is not even trying. It's slowly fading into the version of you that never dared. And here's the twist. Courage doesn't feel like confidence. It feels like anxiety, doubt, even nausea. Because it means stepping out of your carefully built little life. It means saying, "I know this is risky. I know people might not get it, but I'd rather be real than safe." Take my friend. After that conversation, she started writing again. Just 15 minutes a day, nothing major. A year later, she quit her job. Not in flames, but with a plan. She's broke, she's scared. But for the first time in years, she's here. She told me, "I feel like I came back from the dead." And that's what Kierkegaard is talking about. Not some heroic fantasy, but the slow, strange return to yourself. Because the real world, the one where you're alive, awake, and risking something, it's not out there waiting. You have to leap into it, even if your hands are shaking, even if your voice cracks, even if no one claps. Because as Kierkegaard said, "To dare is to lose one's footing momentarily. Not to dare is to lose oneself." And losing yourself quietly? That's the cost of not having courage. Let's start with this line from Kierkegaard. "The most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly the one you'll never have." Read that again. Remembering the future. What does that even mean? It's the version of you that could have existed. If you just had the nerve, if you just said yes, or no, or anything. It's the pain of knowing you didn't even try. We don't talk about this much. We talk about regret like it's about what we did. But the deeper kind is about what we never did. Think of someone who stayed in the wrong relationship for years. Not because they were happy, but because they were scared to leave. Or someone who wanted to move, or start a project, or change careers, but couldn't face the silence that comes with trying something real. They played it safe. And now, years later, they're haunted by a life they can't forget because it never even happened. That's what Kierkegaard means. He's not being dramatic, he's being exact. The most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly the one you'll never have. So here's the question for you. What future are you remembering? What version of yourself are you quietly mourning? Because that pain, that grief, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means there's still time to act. It means the courage you need is still there, just buried under all the noise. So, what's the thing you already know you need to do? Not someday. Now. Let's go deeper. Kierkegaard wrote, "To be that self which one truly is indeed the opposite of despair." Sounds simple, right? Just be yourself. But what he's really saying is that despair isn't about failure. It's about faking it. Living a life that looks fine but doesn't feel like yours. And the cure for that isn't success. It's selfhood. The kind you don't find. You build it through choices, through risk. You become yourself by daring something real. Now, you might be wondering, what if I don't know who I really am? Fair. But Kierkegaard would say, that's not something you figure out in your head. It's something you learn by living, by choosing, by leaping. Let me tell you about someone I met at a workshop. Mid-40s, corporate job, quiet, kept to herself. On the second day, she stood up and said, "I've wanted to open a small bookstore since I was 22. I never told anyone, not even my partner. I thought it was stupid." Then she started crying. Not because of shame, but because for the first time in 2 decades, she said it out loud. And the room went silent. Not awkward respectful. She had just done something most people never do. She risked being real. And you could see it, she walked out taller that day. Nothing in her life had changed yet. But something in her had. Because when you start living from truth, even small truth, you stop borrowing your identity from other people. You stop negotiating your existence. And that's the real power of courage. Not changing the world overnight, but changing your posture in it. To be that self which one truly is indeed the opposite of despair. Here's the punchline. You don't need a roadmap. You just need a direction. And the nerve to walk toward it even if you're still shaking. I want to tell you a story that still sits with me. A man in his 70s once said this in a small group I was part of. He said, "I spent my whole life doing what was expected. I was a good man, a provider. I worked hard." Then he paused and whispered, "But I don't think I ever lived." He wasn't angry, just tired. He didn't chase his dreams. He didn't break any rules. And now, there was no one left to impress. He just had to sit there with himself. And that's the cost no one talks about. You don't get in trouble for playing it safe. You just slowly fade. Kierkegaard said it like this: "There is nothing with which every man is so afraid as getting to know how enormously much he is capable of doing and becoming." That quote, it's not about ego, it's about fear. Because it's terrifying to realize that you're the one holding the keys. That nothing's stopping you except your own hesitation. But the longer you avoid it, the more it costs. Not all at once, bit by bit, until one day you look back and realize the person you were meant to become never arrived, because you never let them. So let's bring it home. Here's what we've uncovered. 1. Courage isn't loud. It's often quiet. It looks like showing up scared, taking the leap with no applause. 2. Anxiety isn't a sign to stop. It's the dizziness of freedom, a signal you're standing on the edge of something real. 3. The greatest risk isn't failure. It's living a life that never belonged to you in the first place. So what can you do today? You don't need a 5-year plan. You just need one true move. Say the thing. Start the thing. Admit the thing. And do it scared. Because as Kierkegaard reminds us, life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. You won't get certainty. You'll get movement, breath, momentum, and that's enough. So here's the question I'll leave you with. What would you do this week if you weren't afraid of becoming yourself? Let me know in the comments. Seriously, I read them. And if this hits you and you want more videos like this, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Stay awake, stay true. And remember, courage doesn't always feel like power. Most of the time, It just feels like you finally showing up.